Yo, 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 what's going on? Hope everyone's doing good tonight. It's a late show. Had some things on my mind. Gotta be realistic. Today is the anniversary of 9/11, so I felt it, the need to come on and say something. Why? Does it make sense? So, let you guys get in here and get to it. How's everyone's night? Come in the comments. Let me know. How's everyone doing tonight? Yep, 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 yep. There you guys go. All right. Go ahead and get into this. Guys will come in as it happens. All right. Today is 9/11. It's 22 years after the initial attack. A lot can be said 22 years later. And, here we are at the cusp of some grand event coming our way again. Do we know what it is? Doubt it. Can we see it coming this time? Think we're a little better equipped to see it coming this time. But it remains the same. September 11th, 2001 is probably one of the greatest tragedies in American history. I don't like to compare incidents, but just for, different situations and, what I'm saying, events, 9/11 in modern times was pretty messed up. What we thought was an attack from, that Yale and a bunch of quote unquote terrorists, what we got was, truth be told, operation and conspiracy in American history. Easily the biggest. One of them. Top five. All right. When that day happened, where were you guys? How old were you? Where were you at? Because I'm curious. Because like when it happened for me, I was a sophomore in high school, 2001. I was in my computer class, and coach put the TV on, and I'm watching it, and first plane's already done its damage, and then the second one hits like maybe 10 minutes later. I was absolutely floored. I would tell you why. Because like you don't expect to see stuff like that in real time, right? Like how who could really fathom, you know, knowing or seeing something like that in person or on live TV, or what we think is live TV. When it happened, I was like, yo, this is messed up. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, yo, this is well played for a bunch of people from a cave. No offense, and it got me thinking early, like who has a beef with America that bad? They'll crash planes into shit and go after the Pentagon and all that stuff, right? We're not knowing that our leaders have made backdoor deals with people that have gone terribly wrong and they feel some type of way. Back then, we wouldn't have known that stuff because this was just happening. This is live time, when things like 9/11 happen in the time that you're living in, you don't really think of the dealings backdoor unless you're already in that kind of world. So when it happened, it was a form of sadness, but there was unity inside this country. There was anger. You know what I'm saying? There was like, how could this have happened? And the whole time, we not knowing, at least me, I understood some of the game, but I ain't gonna act like I knew everything in high school. I didn't. I didn't really know how deep this went. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know how deep this went completely. But when it happened, like, people were coming to get their kids from school. We're watching buildings, you know what I'm saying, be attacked or on fire. People are jumping. Saddest thing to watch on live TV. And then, the buildings came down. Oh, Twin Towers, American symbols. America's financial records also, too, if you want to throw in what all kind of symbols it was a financial building. It was the World Trade Center. It did hold all the financial records for world dealings and import exports, along with a whole lot of other companies inside of it. So as they came down, I remember watching it. It is like, yo, these buildings are really going down. I don't know anything about, construction or anything, but I, I'm I'm young watching it go down. And then I'm watching buildings around it go down and it's affected and I'm like, okay, like this is extreme. Like the twin towers were so damaged they hit other buildings on the other side and not, it was just damage everywhere. But what I thought was an interesting statement on the news that day was that they were like, Building 7, the FBI building for records. And I'm like, yeah? You just gonna say that on national TV? And it hit the light bulb in my head, excuse me, about okay, so if these are FBI records or what else was being held. And, you know, what's really going on is what we were thinking back then, right? So, all that leads to, 2003, the invasion of Iraq, the big speech that Bush gave, WMDs, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, Dick Cheney. The cronies were in there. We had the goons in the building, 2000 to 2008. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, they're all goons. But this specific group were the goons of the goons, right? We got all these people in here, and, we go to war. We go get, what's his face? Saddam. We go get him. We tell the world that Iraq has something to do with 9/11. Even though OBL was taking claim, kind of loosely. Who can really trust those videos and interpretation? Um, and we sparked what we would know as 20 plus year war in the Middle East. That's including with Yemen. That's including Libya, Egypt. A lot of Middle East countries were hit hard. You know what I'm saying? A lot of kick doors were pulled. And for anyone who doesn't know this information, hey, welcome. It's new. A lot of this is still coming out. But there were little subtleties about what happened. Um, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me during this whole event, and I'm gonna be honest, the biggest thing that stood out was how they hijacked the planes, how they got control, how no one knew nothing, and how these guys were able to fly an airliner but couldn't fly a crop duster or a regular Cessna. Couldn't even land. Couldn't even get it off the ground for real. So how did they manage to turn this plane all the way around and find the target or location they were looking for? I'm not saying like I could, say they couldn't fly a plane. So it's three planes, technically four. One gets grounded, two hit the Twin Towers, one each, and then one allegedly hits the Pentagon. Now, there's a couple of things that need to be said about a lot of stuff that went on the day before yesterday, the day before 9/11, not the day before yesterday, sorry. The day before 9/11, we have the report of Rumsfeld coming out saying, there's a fraud, waste, and abuse in the military with funds. Funds have been leaked. We don't know where the accounting has gone with the money. We don't know where anything's at. $2.3 trillion, something like that. Which is now, report came out last week. I wish I had got the clipping, but the report came out that that was false news. It never happened. I like to beg different. All right. Now, I remember that report. I watched the news as a child, as a teenager. I was one of those weirdos. And I remember specifically that report coming across all headlines. The Pentagon couldn't account for like 2.3 million, $3 million. Real. Now, there was a lot of other events that we know now that happened the day before, but kind of keep it on track. So, day before comes out 2.3 million, 2.3 trillion. Just get stuck together. Comes up missing, fraud, waste, and abuse. It is always DOD, Department of Defense. Rumsfeld goes on to say, we're going to fight it. We're going to make sure we find this money. We're going to do all of this stuff. The next day, boom, 9/11 happens. Bush is at a school, I want to say in Florida, and he's reading a book to kids. No, he can't read for real. I know that's wrong, but it's funny. But he's reading a book casually, like nothing's happening. And he gets the guy, a Secret Service comes up and whispers in his ear, and you can see him lock up, freeze up. It happened. It did it. Towers down. And he goes on with the whole shebang, the whole thing. He goes on, even though the book is upside down. I swear, maybe I imagine that one, but I could have sworn the book was upside down. That's just me. Boom. Everything's grounded. It's two planes in the air. Before the planes went in the air, Bush goes on live TV and gets to talking. He has all the kids around him, because he was supposed to announce something else that day. He wasn't supposed to be announcing 9/11, but from what we understand now, he was supposed to be announcing what we would call the Modernization Act of 1999 and 2000. That was what he was supposed to be there for. But that same day, his father and his goons, they handled business. So now, instead of announcing the Modernization Act of 1999-2000, he's stuck with one of the biggest terrorist events in known to man. Now, I want you guys to take a second and go back and think, why were there only two planes in there? Who else was in the air flying? One was the president, Air Force One, and the other was OBL's family flying out of Florida. Now that's confirmed. And I thought that was very unique when I heard that on the news too, because we don't realize how connected all this was back then. We just didn't realize it. How could we have known? But two planes in the air that day, Air Force One, OBL's family. And OBL's family, were locked tight with the Bushes. How do we know this? Because OBL's not Afghani, he's Saudi. OBL was a prince. Now, one can say, how does a prince end up in the caves of Afghanistan, not the woods? I mean, he trekked around the woods too, but how does a Saudi prince end up in the caves of Afghanistan? Well, let's insert Alphabet Boy agent Tom Osman, allegedly. It's all entertainment, education purposes, yada, 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 yada. So OBL has ties from the 80s with the Bush family and, the oil business and their dealings because Saudi Arabia and America have been pretty much like this, regardless of their mutual feelings. They've been like this up until maybe the last year or two. So, for their family to be in the air at the same time as everything else is grounded with the president says a lot. Now, I do have some video footage I'm gonna share with you guys. I'm trying to make it quick. All right. Now I do have the 9/11 budget video. It's kind of long, but I'm gonna shorten it up for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that. I want you guys to listen to this. Like, see, let me know if you guys remember all of this. Okay.
The day before 9/11, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war, not on foreign terrorists.
The adversary is closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy.
He said money wasted by the military poses a serious threat.
In fact, it could be said that it's a matter of life and death.
Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, the world changed. And in the rush to fund the war on terrorism, the war on waste seems to have been forgotten.
My 03 budget calls for more than $48 billion in new defense spending.
More money for the Pentagon when its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of what it already spends.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
$2.3 trillion with a T. That's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in America. To understand how the Pentagon can lose track of trillions, consider the case of one military accountant who tried to find out what happened to a mere $300 million.
We know it's gone, but we don't know what they spent it on.
Jim Minery, a former Marine turned whistleblower, is risking his job by speaking out for the first time about the millions he noticed were missing from one defense agency's balance sheets. Minery tried to follow the money trail, even crisscrossing the country looking for records.
The director looked at me and he says, "Why do you care about this stuff?" It took me aback, My supervisor asked me why I care about doing a good job. So
he was reassigned.
All right. So think about that, people. All right. This happened. Let's not act like this didn't happen. This happened. They were missing money. We know what the trade centers are. That's why it was the two pillars. Now there's a One World Trade Center. So what I took this as now is this is the beginning of what we're dealing with now, 22 years later. This is the one world government. This is the deep state. This is all the stuff that we all talk about in circles. This is them. This is like one of those real deal secret society BS. It was lined up perfectly, executed. You guys have your feelings about Alex Jones, but he wasn't wrong. He came out talking about this early. Remember, they still did the interview with OBL in like '99, and he was hiding in the cave or something. How did the news find this man, but the government couldn't? Okay. How does that happen? How? The only way you can't find that man if you ain't looking for him. Ain't no way. These folks found Saddam hiding in a hole, allegedly. If you found this man in a hole, you couldn't find this man who was on dialysis for like cancer, hooked up to an IV, walking around in the cave. You couldn't find that man. He was almost dead. At one point, you guys, they had said, not you guys, but they said, hey, we think he's dead. And then all of a sudden, boom, they find him 2012. Obama comes out and he's like, we have just conducted a raid. And here we are 22 years later, all questioning the official report, all looking at the holes in the story, and sitting here wondering How did they manage to do this? I'll tell you how they managed to do it. The same way they managed to sink the Titanic. Make it look like an accident. Unfortunately, you can't fake certain things, and people's lives are included in it. What up, Roger? How you doing, man? So it's the same. It's the wash and rinse and repeat system. They're not original. They just do stuff and control the media, and we're sitting here like, oh man, that's crazy. That's like the Boston Marathon that time when there's like two Muslim Russians decided to bomb a Boston Marathon. Like it was, we go through this with them a lot, and it gets old. Like I feel like at this point we should all be able to tell. And 22 years later, there are people walking who don't even know what was going on, and we're talking about the young people. They weren't even around. They watched it on History Channel or something, and they were like, "Yo, that's a tragedy," but they weren't here for it. So, you know, how they view this is jaded. How we view it is what it is. It is what it is. It's unfortunate because all those people lost their lives. I still want to think that we all kind of seen it coming, and I would say we all seen it coming, just because when you look back at the state of affairs in America and who we were dealing with, the man had stole the election the first time he ran, and we acted like that never happened. So the signs were there as soon as he got in that this was a crooked, corrupt institution. He stole the election the first time. Don't forget that the ballots were missed in Florida, like they were burned and lost. They had to recount. So the idea that you guys are screaming that the system is rigged, it's been rigged. This ain't nothing new. Welcome to the fucking show. I share that little visual a lot on my stories. Welcome to the fucking show. Because they've been doing this a while. And we've been sitting here playing as pawns in it the whole time. They lit a fire in America with that incident. Got everyone riled up, went to war, told everyone it was WMDs, and didn't even find a damn slingshot. They did find something though. The tomb of Gilgamesh or Nimrod. That's the same person. They found a whole figure allegedly in a Stargate, but none of that's actually confirmed. But what we do know, this is what we do know. Blackwater. I don't know if I can say that on here, but I just did. But Blackwater, Cheney's contracting agency. Of course, Halliburton was involved. The MIC, all these big people were involved. What they do? They supplied everything. They supplied weapons. They supplied food. They supplied mercenaries. They supplied the whole war. And then when it was over, they got all the government contracts to rebuild the country, just like they're doing, guess who? Ukraine. Roger said for the assurance buddy to produce a reason to invade the East. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Not at all. You know how much money was made that day? Every time there's a terrorist attack, gold goes up. You know how I learned that? Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. I learned that in that movie. It's funny how that movie came out around the same time, maybe before. Like the original version came out. The one that with Denzel and John Travolta is a remake. The one before it, though, yeah. That's where I got that from. It remains true. It remains absolutely true. Now, everybody in there who owned the towers, who has something to do with it, insurance, after all said and done, They walk away with a fat check, and this is the beginning of the collapse of 2008. Like we look back on this, and we're sitting here lining up all these events, realizing we got robbed. We got robbed. They robbed us. If you want to believe it, I'm not one to say it. At least now I'm open. But they robbed us. That's how I feel. That's how I take it. When I say us, I mean Americans and our taxes, because as we got older, everyone started paying taxes. I end up in the military. We got due. How do what is it? 19 hijackers hijack planes and fly them into buildings. Many ways. Many, apparently. Complicit, complacent. You didn't believe it. At least that's what they told us. But all the while, this is all part of the chess moves, the pieces on the board. We just think, we see things from a very slanted view, very small hole, because we don't expect our own institutions to go against us, and they did. And, here we are now. In the last the phase of it. This is the end game. This is it. The last 22 years has all been scripted. You don't believe me? I don't care. It's scripted. I will tell you why. Right after the 2008 collapse, 2009, Bitcoin shows up. Bitcoin shows up. And I caught on to Bitcoin early. I saw it. Did I invest? God, no. I was ignorant. I didn't know anything about it. I just I heard a digital currency, and I was like, oh, I saw that in a movie once. It kept going. Miguel said the last 4,000 to 6,000 years was scripted, brother. Do you know how crappy that has to be on our end? That they got a 6,000 year head start on us? 6,000? I was trying to be like hopeful with the 300 with the Rockefeller family in America. This man said 6,000. Sir, how do we combat 6,000 years of a head start? That's like, I can't even give you a metaphor for that. That's just petty. How do we combat 6,000 years of head start? Light of truth. Okay, I respect that. It's a house of cards. I understand what you're saying. It's a house of cards, and yeah, their cards are crumbling right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to take that from you. But in the same breath, 6,000 years. Like, how? Unless you want to go all the way back to Enoch, and I'm not going that far. I'm not going back 4,000 to 6,000 years to talk about Enoch. We're talking about America, and since then. And since then, this place has become way more stressful than it was before. Way more stressful. Way more angry, way more violent. Way more everything. Way more weird, twisted. You got all these groups, everyone's part of something, but they're not part of anything, and they're all divided. To me, it does seem like it worked. It does. Because if you look at us now, are we more divided than we ever been? I think we've always been divided in this country. I think that's how it's been played. I think the people who didn't realize they were divided are the citizens or the Americans. I think the whole divide and conquer thing is all part of the game plan, because otherwise I don't feel like this is how we're supposed to operate. I don't. I truly do believe that we as people in the spirit and the soul all understand the laws of the land and the laws of the universe, but we're dealing with a lot of hands-on people who like to, cause the chaos, cause the confusion. Roger says America is Egypt. That's another conversation. I got that one on tap right now. I'm waiting. I've been meaning to do that one. But Roger, you're not too far. You're not far off, man. Go venture into that Grand Canyon and G.E. Kincaid in 1919, and he may agree with you. But I do think that everything that we're witnessing right now is the end game. I think what they showed us in those Marvel movies, I think they showed us what was going on in a sense, but they did it in a very nice storytelling way. You know how Disney likes to get down. And I just use that as a reference because in the end game that was it. There was a lot of I guess double backing to fix things that shouldn't have happened and that should have happened. Now I use that reference because Project Looking Glass is a thing, and if you know about Project Looking Glass was loosely Project Looking Glass was around the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the 60s. When it came out, I think it was the 70s, but if I gave them a 20-year head start, it was probably from the 50s. So they look into almost like a little futuristic portal, right? Kind of like a small little, kind of like your light ring. I had to look at my light ring and realize it's like a light ring. It's like a small Stargate, right? And they look into it, and every outcome was against them. Every outcome. And this is why people are saying things are being sped up because they know that the time is end and it's here. And we left the age of Pisces and we're now in the age of Aquarius, the age of enlightenment. A lot of people are quote unquote raising their frequency. I don't like to say woke because they've ran that word into the ground. I like to say, aware of the current situation that we're all in. Now, Project Looking Glass sounds real familiar because in Marvel, Doctor Strange does his little weird head thing, right? And they ask him how many outcomes are there, and he's like, there's one out of like 14 million and some change. Predictive programming, people. I know, I'm not as energetic as Alex Jones, but I know I get off the wall kind of like that too. I just say, screaming at you and stuff. But Project Looking Glass and Doctor Strange are essentially the same thing, same scenario, same thing that's going on with them. Everything that they tried to make happen, it fails to some extent, and their time is up, and there's no outcome. That's why they have to try to collect as many souls as possible before they go. And this is why they're kind of forcing the prophecy overseas right now in Israel with the third temple being built. They already brought the red heifer in, I want to say 2019, 2020, for the sacrifice. And we've already seen all the presidents in the last 20 years go over there and kiss the wall and put their head on the wall. They do the same ritual. Trump, Bush, Obama, Biden, it don't matter. Left wing, right wing, same bird. So they've all gone over there and given their peace and blessings to what's coming. And, what can we do? I don't know. Get truth out? Because, with the digital currency that's been implemented since 2009, I thought maybe this was a thing to help out, but it looks like it's just another project given to us. If you believe Satoshi Nakamoto, is Satoshi Nakamoto, pseudo-anonymous designer, computer hacker, whatever I guess you want to call it. made all of this blockchain, and just gave it to the banking system, and they automatically took it. I have no idea what to tell you. Ain't no way. I'm gonna be real. We as a country have essentially forced the U.S. dollar on every country in the world, the petrodollar itself. We don't really run on gold anymore. So you want me to believe that a pseudo-anonymous Japanese man and two other men from Australia, because I know you guys saw that report last year where they said they found the guy who invented Bitcoin. Believe that if you want to. One's still alive, and we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, even though the dude said he was. Whatever. I don't believe that. I'm gonna tell you why. I think blockchain as an idea, is very revolutionary as far as finance and being your own financial system and whatnot. But when you look at the ounce of it, blockchain, yes, is quote unquote unhackable, or there's clarity with it. But I just find it equally strange that in the event that they cut the lights out, it does absolutely nothing. But when they need to use it, they can manipulate us with it, and they're gonna do it. Do I know when? No. But ever since 2001, we've been on a highway to hell, and we've all participated in some form or fashion. Is it grim? Kind of. I'll be honest with you. It's really grim. But all that said, I still have hope. I still have faith. I still think that humans, the real ones, the ones that were born with a spirit, the ones that were born with a soul, because those are separate, the ones who are able to think on their own, and the ones who see what's going on, all understand that we have to collectively come together. And I know that's cliche, but we got to really get over this race and this ideology and this terrorism thing. There's only a few terrorists in the world, and most of them are in our country. Miguel says, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but in 13 days on the 23rd of September, the next global crisis is planned. 2 weeks, be ready. Now, Miguel, you beat me to the punch. I was leading up to that. Got anxious on me, didn't you? He's not wrong, though. There's something going around about that. There's also something going around about the emergency broadcasting system on October 4th. You're all right, Miguel. You ain't got to apologize, man. You feeling me out. I feel like you understand where I'm going with this. But there's a lot of things supposed to be going on. And all I can tell you guys is be prepared. October 4th, live broadcast for emergency testing for an hour. A whole hour. You're not wrong, Sherry. Most of them are. All right, I'm going to take that back. I don't think they're asleep, all of them. I think they're terrified and they don't know what to do, so they stay complicit because it's easier. How do I know this? I have people call me a lot and be like, yo, did you see that shit in the news? And I'm like, what? And they're like, they go, they explain. I'm like, yeah, that's probably what it was. And they're like, oh man, I just wanted to confirm. That's it? You don't want to, what are you going to do with the news? Oh, no, they don't do anything with it. Oh, nothing. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy. You're not going crazy, but there's still something happening. There's still sightings of, parking lots getting combed out. There's still sightings of military movement around the country. Nothing has actually changed. A lot of people say, well, you talk about it and you don't talk about it. I gotta cover a lot of stuff, guys. There's a lot going on out here. I just can't stay on one singular thing. I gotta like touch a little bit of everything. It's like a buffet of bullshit. Just putting shit on my plate, knowing I don't want to eat it. I'm just gonna take it home and deal with it later. And that's kind of what this is right now. Like everyone's kind of watching this from different standpoints. It's like I'm watching like, American stuff, movement. Then you got one person who's solely watching military. And then you got one person that's solely watching weather, satellite movement, news. We're all watching the same thing in pieces. Some of us are watching more than the others. Now the ones who we think are asleep, some are. They would like to believe that this shit is real and this is how we're supposed to operate. We're supposed to use damn pronouns that are in the book of demonology. Them, they, and their, or whatever, them, they. The demons call themselves that. We. So, whatever. I'm just saying we're in a time now where we're so divided, no one actually has a true identity. Everyone's just regurgitating shit. Sherry says it's hard to digest the fact that our government leaders, and I mean all of them, could care less about us. Yeah. 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 And it's been that way for a very long time. This is what makes me mad sometimes when I hear people say black people died, our ancestors died to vote. I always say they got murdered because they were black, because clearly the vote never damn mattered. They say if it did, then why'd they kill them? Because they were pieces of shit. The same reason they oppressed women. The same way they oppressed the Irish. Like everyone in America at some point been oppressed. And we're all sitting here like, well, we had it worse. Everybody's had it pretty fucked up. Blacks had slavery. That was fucked up. I'm not going to lie to you. The melanated people, we got a bad card. We pulled a bad card, and I say I didn't go through that form of slavery. But I can read, and I can use my imagination. When you tell me they were feeding babies to alligators for fun, that kind of lets me know. When you tell me they're having a picnic, excuse me, I'm going to use a correct term, where they were sitting here lynching black men and women and then having a picnic afterwards. So I don't have to be reminded how messed up it was, but I can literally reach back in everyone's history and pull out the same fucked up shit. They do feed on us. They feed on our energy. They're energy sucking bastards. And they use the devices to do it. You think your device miraculously knew that you were thinking of something? That shit ain't a damn accident. People at one point thought their phone was following them. Fucker, it is. Every time you go past Walmart, the cookies from their frequency or their signal on their Wi-Fi goes directly to your fucking phone. When you go to Advanced Auto Parts, guess what you're going to see on Facebook? Advanced Auto Parts. Why? Because they're tracking you. They've been tracking everybody. I showed that picture on my page. They have everybody on a list. Everybody. If you think you're not on a list, think about what you stand for and then go back to my page and look at that list. You are on that list. Y'all thinking it's white, black, blue, brown versus... No, it's us against whoever is them. And we know our politicians and our celebrities to be worth of shit. But we still go through the model. I'm guilty. I like football. I like watching the game. But I'm not naive to think like this is just a nice culture distraction from the daily bullshit that I gotta go through every day. Everything that you got going on around you, it's by design. If when people say they're trying to distract us, they don't have to try to do shit. They've already distracted all of us. You got a whole computer in your hand and people don't know what to do with themselves. Too much information at one time perverts the mind if you don't know how to master the information. That can go back to the book of Enoch, and when the fallen came down and perverted the people with too much information and ability, and they went to waging war and doing all this against each other. It's the same thing now. We're so far gone that we don't even realize 9/11 was one of the finale or the prequel to what we're dealing with now. Raven Rock Studio says, I firmly believe these folks are demonic possessed clones, avatars running the shit show. Has anybody heard of Orlando Brown? The dude from Disney, from That's So Raven, where he said it. These people are not dead. You think they're dead. They're not dead. They're just in another body. These people should have been dead a long time ago, and they're not. These are the same people who go to Switzerland, Geneva, and Davos, where Satan's throne lies, where all of our emergency powers are centered at in fucking Switzerland, along with FEMA. It's just a shit show. We're sitting here. People are starting to realize that our president may not actually be the president. We are starting to sit here and realize there may be a whole subspecies living under us right now. Fathom what I'm saying right now, okay? We may be in a time where there are a subspecies of people living below our feet right now. We may be in a time we find out that there are things walking around that we can't actually physically see because of the 3D to 5D jump. I'm gonna pull another example from Marvel. Remember in Doctor Strange movie, Multiverse of Madness, where he's at the wedding and the big eyeball was kicking around cars and shit and they couldn't see it. They're like, oh my God, what's that? And this man waves his hand and they could see the shit. This shit was still happening, but you couldn't see it. 3D to 5D. Do I believe it? I don't really know at this point what it is you guys want me to sit here and say. I'm a bag of cats on a good day. I honestly will sit here and tell you right now, whatever you think is fake, that shit's probably real. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Sherry says, I'm from New Mexico and our governor calls us lizard people. I mean, New Mexico just, what was that, the mayor of one of the towns in Albuquerque, told their people that they can't open carry for a month. I tell you now, if you think the Disney movies is fake, if you think Jack and the Beanstalk is fake, if you think the never-ending story is just a fairy tale, I am here to tell you at one point that shit probably existed. You don't have to believe me. Interdimensional beings, interdimensional creatures, you can call them demons, you can call them Papagoya the boogeyman. I don't care what you call it. What I'm going to tell you now is there are reports right now that there is a fucking dinosaur rolling somewhere in America. I do not make this shit up. I just don't say a lot of stuff on here because I get to just saying shit. I'm telling you now, whatever you believe, about history, that shit is a lie somewhere. In there is full of lies or omitted truths. You can't say I'm wrong. What we think is our history is not our history, it's their history. If you ever read history, read it from their point of view and it'll start making more sense. And if you read it from the oppressed person's view, which is clearly hard because dead people can't say shit. Dead people can't say nothing. Someone has to document it. Our history is a fucking comic book. Our history is a comic book, people. Listen, whatever you want to believe it. If it keeps you warm and fuzzy, I hope it keeps you warm and fuzzy. But I'm gonna tell you what, that truth is cold. That truth is a cold bitch. She don't care about feelings. Perfect example. Anybody notice the grumblings about the Obamas all of a sudden? And you know, their hidden secret. There's a lot of information coming out. There's a lot of videos coming out. We're in an information age. And someone had a CERN comment. I'm trying to go back and see it. All right, I'm gonna pull this one up because I think CERN. I think the CERN-based internet was always meant to be a demonic highway from the abyss to the palm of our hands. Raven Rock, listen to me. You may not be wrong. I'm gonna tell you why. Because everything is frequency and energy. We all know entities can take devices, they can hold on to toys, they can hold on to a rock, they can hold on to anything that has significant value or energy attached to it. So if that's the case, and every time you search something, you're over here letting in some form of demonic energy, and it's everything. It's all in your mouth and eyes already. You can't. It's already there. You know how they be like, "Don't get it in my eyes or my mouth." It's already there. You're watching it and you're eating it. You're eating poison in your food, and you're watching poison on your phone. And I'm just as guilty. I'm not perfect. Someone got my joke. Someone got it, Roger. I wasn't gonna say it, but you know, Joan Rivers wasn't wrong. Oh, that's a good one. Miguel says, can I believe those tablets of stuff have been thrown into a volcano a year and a half? Mahala. Have you ever seen the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey? He attempted to get rid of the Emerald Mask. Yeah, you can't get rid of it. Once it finds you, it finds you. That's like you ever watch those movies where the kid or the person finds that secret alien hardware. Some like what's that movie? Guyver. Fucking love that movie. It was a cheap ass movie, but good. Like the item finds you and then you're stuck with it. This is kind of like your cell phone. Think about it. Your cell phone can lead you to the dark web with a couple punches of letters and numbers, or you have a torrent in your phone. Most browsers have a torrent built into it now. Fun fact, the dark web was made by the government so they could back channel to their people without getting caught on the regular internet. So, I mean, let's not be naive. But what I'm saying is the little phone devices in our hands are portals to another realm. But here's the built-in defense mechanism. We use them for information. So we all collectively here's what maybe is like the flaw in the machine. Here's the flaw. The whole point of the device was to pervert us. It perverts the youth badly. I don't disagree with that one. I really don't like my kids on social media. Just gonna be honest. We try to limit it. We try to do what we can. Here's something to think about. The technology has ruined this generation, but for the generation who understood information, you gave us basically encyclopedia in our hands. So now we just go through information, and now you put a camera on the phone. The same thing you're spying on us with, we're spying on you with. Miguel asks, has anyone here watched the Nuremberg trial 2.0 trial yet? 35 hours of objective truth and data analysis by tons of masters in their fields. Free online, www.grand-jury.net. Appreciate that. All right, Roger, you're right. I got a Black's Law Dictionary. I do have one. I got a couple reading materials, waiting. Raven Rock says, we are the masters of this universe. Everything is to hide that and contain us and mislead us, distract us from the fact, in my opinion. I read that wrong. I'm reading it too quick. But I get what you're saying. We are distracted. We don't really need to be distracted because we're distracting ourselves because our lives are so damn miserable and hard. We work sometimes 8, sometimes 12, sometimes 16-hour days. Sometimes we got families to feed. We got houses to take care of. We got cars to maintenance. We got to find a way to feed our family. How the hell could you keep up with this shit? You can't, and they know that. That's what they're banking on. That's how they got away with it. They gave us the rat race while they took the slow road. So here we are, running around eating each other for crumbs, and they out here raking in like a fat cat. Taking it all. And this is the last 22 years. Look, I can only do this for 22 years, and we can figure out how they fucked us. We could go into the disinformation propaganda campaign that started 2014, and when Obama lifted that what is it? There's a law stating that you can't run psyops and disinformation campaigns on the American people. That shit was killed in 2014. They've been running psyops on us for almost 8-9 years now. And I mentioned this on Facebook in the time they were running snuff films in people's feeds and a lot of other questionable videos. We've been doing this for a while, and do I think we're gonna rise up? I honestly don't know. I'm gonna be real with you. I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't. It's gonna take some extreme situation for this to happen. And me personally, I don't want it to happen. Does it have to happen? Possibly. Raven Rock says, I think we should seek rural mountains and forests to live there, far away from cities and control. Not much left, but distancing and hunkering down for the big show. I don't want to see the grand finale. I didn't even ask to watch this damn show. I didn't ask for this. I didn't. I may have did. If you guys believe in the whole spirit thing and you select your person card and you come down here because you knew what was going to happen, and you, fine. If I did select it, damn it, here we are. Here we are. I don't want to see this shit. I don't. That doesn't make it any less true for me. That doesn't mean I'm not going to go prep and do what I need to do. That's not, that a lot of this does not mean I'm not going to do something because I don't want to see it. I'm not one of those people who's going to be like, I know, but I'm not going to do nothing about it. I don't really know what to do other than protect my family and prepare myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. That's why I always tell y'all to get right, whoever you need to get right with. All right. Because clearly we have an infestation of roaches and rats, snakes. That and I use those three because it's hard to kill those three: rats and roaches, snakes too. Raven Rock says none of us want to, but our spiritual future needs this climax. Unfortunately, wheat from the shaft Yano. Hey, Raven Rock, you're not wrong. It's just so dark. God, it's dark. It's dark. It's just here we are going into the end of the harvest. We're about to find out if we got any food to give for the next coming year. Dark winter may be a thing. Hurricane season's looking real questionable. And Hawaii is still going through its BS, along with most of America. I shared a video, too, about the border crossing. Look, when war happens and there's a migration, maybe they're not showing the women and children. Maybe this is all propaganda, and they're just kind of like, showing us the military men to get us all riled up in a constant state of anxiety so they can harvest all our energy. Because that's the thing, too. They can keep us in a constant state of excitement and anxiety and harvest our energy that way through the cell phone and through this platform. Same thing I'm doing now. Dark winter is a thing. October 4th is approaching. September 23rd is approaching. Do I think something's going to happen? I can't say. I can't. But I can say that Biden, Harris, and this whole shit show has to stop. Harris, what we think about the vice president is not like, when you hear like Harris has issues with the press and all that, y'all do know that this woman was a district attorney for like 15 years in California, just incarcerating the shit out of people. This woman does not have an issue with press. She does not have an issue with delegation. She does not have an issue with any of that. This woman is the one doing the shit in the background. While we're all looking at Biden, Harris is over here doing some foul ass shit, and the Secretary of the State is usually the right hand man or the left hand person to that. If you want to, like, there's ways that this works. Like, the president is the front facing part of the business. Then there's the vice president who actually goes and do shit. Then the vice president has like other people under them that they can appoint to do dumb shit for them that they don't want to do or they don't have time to do. Like, since 2001, we have seen a complete abolishment of all rights, all constitution, all legislation, whatever. We've all seen a complete abolishment of it. We're watching them destroy everything in front of us, and what are we? No one's doing anything. Nobody. And I see a lot of people on the social media, and they're like, "Hey, we got to do this." There's people out here doing this, and join the militia, join this, join that, go do this, go do that. It's a clusterfuck. It's no wonder we don't get anything done. Everybody's trying to tell someone to do something that they aren't capable of doing. It's only a small percentage of people who know how to do all that stuff in America. Most of them spent the last 20 years overseas. Miguel says the only solution is spreading truth. Truth will set our species free. He's not wrong. Raven Rock says, I say be a refuge when the time comes. I like that. I like both of those. Being a refuge when the time comes just means being that support system But you got to remember too that support system is going to have to be. You have to be real careful with that support system because everybody's going to react different when they realize there's no law, there's no lights, there's no food. You know, whatever happens, happens, and you know, strongest people survive. Walking Dead, however you want to look at it. Um, what I can tell you is I'll use what both of them said. Keep strong to the truth and be a refuge. But I'll also be realistic, like I've always told you. Prep, 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 prep. And I know that's hard. I get it. Like, you know, how do I tell a person living paycheck to paycheck how to survive? I can just give you tips and clues and whatever you can formulate with whatever funds you got, by all means do it. You'll put yourself ahead. Even if it's a week, that's a week of survival. If you do it for a month, that's a month of survival. At least when you know you can think clearly without being hungry. Because I'm gonna be honest, if you've never been hungry, that shit's real uncomfortable. And you'll do pretty much anything to make it stop. So I want people to do what they need to do. I want people to understand that when the time comes, you may have to be a person that you didn't think you could be. You may have to do things you didn't think you wanted to do or could do. I'm not telling you to go out here and do nothing malicious. I'm not telling you to do anything crazy, irrational, violent, or anything like that. What I'm telling you is to do your best to protect yourself out here. Protect your neck. Because right now, you got the powers to be playing a really messed up game of Clue right now. And a lot of us are going to be caught with our pants down. A whole lot of us are going to be caught with our pants down. The only thing I say is, you know, have your plan, have your bags ready. If you're not able to get your bags, make sure you got a plan to hunker down until you can get out. There's no one way to do this. Like, I agree with Raven Rock about going into the woods, but that may not be an option. What if you get stuck somewhere? You know, you're going to have to find out the best way possible how this is going to go. There's no one solution to everything. It's not. And that's the only thing that I always want to say. When we're talking about what you can do, there's no one solution. There's no one answer. I just tell you, do what you can with what you got and how you can do it. The more you know, the better you are off. Know your environment, know your neighbors, know the neighborhood you live in, know what part of the city you live in, know how to move around. Don't go out all willy-nilly dressed like the military. I know all of you know, it just happens that way. Nothing wrong with having your different gears, but blend in, do what you need to do, carry. Do what you got to do, man. Just don't lose yourself in all of this. Don't let them win with the fear mongering and the hate and the divisiveness between the social groups, because all that's social engineering. Everything you see right now on the news is social engineering. All of it. Everything you listen to is social engineering. Everything you read, everything they're banning in schools, everything they're teaching, it's social engineering. They're driving us to the way they want us to go. Raven Rock says if folks get to Montana, we got all the good spots for holding up. We moved there 3 years ago to prep. Well, hey, if anyone's listening and you're close to him, and you know you're good people, there's your refuge. Contribute to the cause and help out. Like, we're in a real psyop with agencies. And we're just sitting here willy-nilly letting it happen. Always have a contingency plan. The one and only good words. Your plan A isn't going to work. If any of you are veterans, you know your first plan is going to go to shit, and you got to have everything covered. That's all. That's the best thing I can tell you. Because the last 22 years, and I'll say the last 22 because that's really relevant to my generation. If you're born in the 80s, I can't speak for the boomers. You guys seen your own cataclysmic events. We've seen ours. And I'm going to tell you now, this shit is absolutely horrible. So don't take this as, oh, it's just conspiracies. It's not. There's something really wrong with all of this right now. And the more you look into it, the more you see the symbolism, the more you see the rituals happening on live TV and concerts, the more you realize Washington, D.C. is just a hub of filth. And it ain't just them. It's other places in the world, but I only speak from our country. I can't speak for everyone else's country. We know they got their own war, but I can only speak for ours. And since then, as I speak for ours, shit hits the fan. We keep having weird events. We keep sitting here looking at it, scratching our heads like this ain't no way this makes sense. No way Maui should have burned the way it did. No way those kids should have been left at home. No way they should have cut the power. No way they should have blocked the evacuation route. But here we are. They did it all. They did it in 2000, Katrina. They were shooting people on the bridge. That's just really coming out now. Stuff does come to mind, and it is. There we go. We can sit there and chop it up, share some information, get to know, what's going on out here. I'm always down for a good convo. But we have to really take a step back and open our eyes and realize that what we're looking at is social engineering. Black Lives Matter, social engineering. LGBTQIA plus 3, social engineering. Antifa, terrorist group. The far right, terrorist group, social engineering. The Azovs, that weird ass red shirt vampire looking group that showed up on a fucking bridge in Florida to act like they were goddamn protesting some shit, social engineering. The new group that I saw walking around with blue shirts and khakis on, fucking feds. It's all social engineering. If you don't believe me, go look into the original founders of Black Lives Matter and ask me where they're at. I posted the video of the last one, Darren Shields. I don't make any of this up, man. Y'all can go look it up. You can go all over the internet and find this, man. The people that originally founded Black Lives Matter are all dead. Commandeered the movement, handed it over to someone, and they made money off of it. And then they hid the gay pride behind it and went from there. I know that's gonna ruffle feathers, and that's fine. But it's true. It's absolutely true. At some point, we gotta stop acting like it's white versus black, and Mexican versus Asian, Asian versus black. It's all engineered, man, and a lot of the outcomes are part of the engineering. Sometimes they get a 2-for-1 deal. They'll get y'all to riot and then lock us up. Incarcerated, now you're a free slave labor kind of person. While learning a whole bunch of new tricks and trades, and they're going to turn you loose into the world after being incarcerated with the top 1% criminals of your area. let you learn a whole bunch of stuff you ain't got no business learning, and then send you back in the world broken and battered so you can go do the same thing to somebody else. That shit don't fix nobody. It fixes a few people, but it don't fix everybody. I just, you have to understand that social engineering has been going on for a while. If you don't think it has, turn on your TV and watch Love and Hip Hop and go look at the black community. It ain't just them. I just use that for a specific reason because it affects us the most. It does. Now, when you get into what affected everyone else, you got the prescription pill movement. That dug a hole off in the middle class, white people and blacks. Asians, not too bad. Mexicans, they got to. Crack epidemic, meth epidemic, AIDS epidemic, anything, man. They've gotten all of us. Like we're thinking like ever since 2001, we've thought that we were supposed to be united. We've been divided the whole time. Whole time. We've been sitting here arguing, fussing, and fighting while they're sitting there pulling the strings, raping us with taxes. While Ukraine and his buddies go overseas and do their thing. Roger says, problem is we are under admiralty law of the sea, commerce. Another problem is a lot of people are awake. Even gangs nowadays are doing peace treaties. He's not wrong. The gangs are doing peace treaties. That happened once in the 70s, and that didn't go well for, the higher ups. They don't like when we unite. They hate that. We have been manipulated to hate each other. If you don't believe it, go outside and walk down the street. You'll see it every day. Program manipulated is the same thing, man. It don't really matter. Program is manipulating the already updated, the already software involved. You can program a damn cat to do something. They can program mosquitoes, which they do. We're going to get into that another day, too. That's DARPA. We talked about that. Biological mosquitoes, Bill Gates and DARPA. Words do have power, but action has a lot of power, too. Faith without work is dead. I'm not a huge religious person, but that one's always stood out. Faith without work is absolutely nothing. You got to put foot to ground. You got to put foot to ground. And I'm not telling y'all to go out here and do nothing crazy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we can all afford to be a little active right now. How do we do that? Well, you're going to have to let go of the matrix. You're going to have to let go of all the things that you love dearly, you hold true, and near and dear to the heart. You have to let them go and be uncomfortable. Miguel says he's tried to contact news agencies, churches, schools. No one will let him speak. Miguel, while I appreciate that, you're doing everything absolutely right. That's not where it's going to happen at. All those things you named, all institutes of control. The news, the church, and the schools. And I'm not making fun of you. Please don't think I am. I appreciate your efforts, man. The truth of the matter is, the news, self-explanatory, that shit's been rigged for the last 100 years. Churches, If you want to believe in religion, I won't take that from you. Whatever keeps you from being a serial killer, I'm all for it. But faith can be found anywhere but there, or a hope, or spirit and soul. Schools, it's self-explanatory. The Rockefellers had that on lock almost 100 years too. Where do we go? You really want to know how you want to do this? You stop talking and start doing. Stop talking. And I say that because the more you talk, the more attention you bring on yourself, like I do. If you want to talk on social media, talk where people can reach out and hear you like I do. But trying to go to the institution itself and talk, you might as well walk into the FBI building and give a speech and see where that gets you. That may get you further than the damn three. It may not get you further where you think you want to go, but I assure you, you show up on the FBI staff talking shit, you get a little attention to yourself. He said, I thought about that. You thought about it. It didn't seem like you did it. You got to think about how you move, man. These people operate on different times. Yeah, we do have to stop supporting the system, but we're all ingrained into the system. We're all a part of the system. This is why I said it's going to have to be something really dramatic for this to happen. Raven Rock says, I'll be ready to help get some folks certified as subcontractors out here so they can work through their own labor contracts. We're doing painting and roofing. Never work for someone again is your goal. Keep your money. Raven Rock, let me tell you something. I'm currently going through a lot right now, and it's seeming like, doing things on my own is the way to go. And this isn't to say that, having a job is less. That's not what I'm saying. And because I did share a video today on my stories that, I feel like a lot of people took the wrong way because the kid said you're brainwashed if you work a job and this and that. And, I want to say this. I don't think you guys are brainwashed. That's not what I was trying to get across to y'all. What I'm trying to get across to y'all is this. We're being taxed 55% of our check. If you make more, you're getting taxed more. And the loophole within that is to write off all of your own stuff like gas, clothing, food. You can write all of that off. That's the trick. But the 95% that do work for the current system are propping up the system. You understand that, right, guys? We're all propping this system up. Every time we go to work, every time we go to the grocery store, every time we put our kids into school, every time we vaccinate, every time we turn on the TV and we're spoon-fed information that clearly don't make damn sense, we're propping up this system. It's us that they propped it on. They didn't prop it on themselves. They propped it on us, on our backs, and banked off of it. Every time you go to the bank and your check hits the bank uses your money to do whatever they want to do with it. I work for myself too. Look, guys, I take donations. I take stars. I take it all. Subscribe to the Daily Rabbit Hole. Guys, I do this pretty much about to be full-time now. I'm not going to lie to you. So if you shoot me stars, shoot me a donation, no matter the size, it's all appreciated, man. Trust me. I ain't out here buying hookers and cocaine and fast cars with the money. I can't afford that. That shit sounds stressful. Like, you guys donate to the Daily Rabbit Hole, the money's going back to the podcast, man. It's going back into all of this. So I'm like you guys, man. I'm all about trying to detach from this. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm not propping anything up. Shit, man, I'm helping it prop up. Like, I'm trying to get out of this matrix too with y'all. We all on the same page. Completely. solid. Like, I absolutely despise this shit. And I know it's late. I see my clock running. Appreciate you guys staying up with me. Like, if I could get out of this matrix unscathed and undamaged, it'd be great. But that's not how that's gonna work. It's not. I got to work towards that, and you know, hopefully, this works, and you know, people listen. I'm not aspiring to be Alex Jones. I'm not trying to be Young Pharaoh. I'm not trying to be any of these people. I'm just a guy with a lot of time on his hands some days and a lot of information and a lot of ways to put it together. I just feel the need to talk to you guys because, to be honest, it's kind of therapeutic. He's right. Get an LLC. Daily Rabbit Holes LLC. Be crazy not to think it's not. But we can get out. It's going to be hard. But it can't be us fighting each other and tearing each other down for packs of noodles during, like we did during the C-19. Like, I never want to see that again. I saw people fighting over pallets of noodles. I was absolutely disgusted. Appreciate it, Raven Rock, for sharing, man. You know, everything helps. Yeah, Abigail, create an LLC puts you in the game. It does. That's your chess piece. When you go business, that does put you on the board with them. Like, this whole thing is scripted. It's a shit show. We're all tired of it. I want to get out of it. I desperately want to get out of it. I'm not going to lie to you. Mentally, physically, spiritually, I'm over all of this stuff. But I'm in the game. I play the game. I put out my information. Same way they put out their information. Only difference is if I don't like their information, I don't come after them. They don't like my information, you know, shit happens. I would say this though. When you do get out, always extend that olive branch to the next person that you trust that's trying to get out. Because you get infiltrated and people fucked up. Some people got problems that you can't help with. But be an olive branch to people and help them out. Be slow to anger. Be patient sometimes. And when it is time to get angry, get angry. That's it. I appreciate you all. I do. Because I always tell you, I never thought that this would happen. This platform, the way it's going, the growth. I'm fortunate to be in this position. And I look at myself as trying to help and give that olive branch of information. Tonight, not so informative, more of a rant. Just had to get some stuff off my chest. But as I have more time on my hands, you'll see a lot more of me. We'll get a lot more detail. You know how we can get certain nights. We get all into the graphics and the dirty details of people and their organizations. I got some things I want to point out. Got some current events we need to talk about. So we're going to do a lot more of this. If you're on TikTok, follow me on TikTok. If you're on Instagram, I'm on Instagram, Rabbit Hole. I think it's the Daily Rabbit Hole. Forget. because TikTok, or not TikTok, Instagram wouldn't let me use certain words, and someone else was already kind of using the name, I think, in some way. But I accept stars. We take donations. Subscribe to the page. We're definitely going to be on the subscription side more often now that, you know, content documentaries are being worked on as we speak. A lot more investigative reports from myself are coming. I'm going full on with this, guys. This is that. I guess that's the announcement. We'll go full on with the Daily Rabbit Hole, and we're going to go out with it. But investigative reports are coming. Documentaries are coming. Help me get the information out, guys. That's all we can do. Get the information out and hope everyone's prepared for whatever comes, and hope it ain't a 90% rate that's being predicted. They're talking about 90% gone. Ooh, excuse me. So once we end this, you guys share it, pass it around, drop it in your groups. You know, do your thing. Subscribe. Donations matter. Keep liking and loving the content. Your engagements help too. If you don't donate, your likes and your shares, they do the same thing, man. They still get the information out, and it still happens. All right. So this is the Daily Rabbit Hole. I'm going to say good night. We'll probably do this maybe Wednesday.